Sonic is known for his speed while running, but what if that running isn't fast enough? Sonic Frontier's landscapes are enormous, and while Sonic is fast, it still takes way too long to traverse these islands. So what can you do when running just doesn't cut it? You fly. This insanity is known as Hit and Run, discovered by Crody on November 14th. Hit and Run worked because of the ability Spin Slash. Similar to other strategies like Magnet Dash and the Hedgehog Space Program, this strat uses a certain attack, then cancels out with an air dash, and extends the speed in that exact moment. The Hedgehog Space Program works so well because on one frame of the attack, Sonic has an incredible amount of speed going up. Hit and Run was a bit weird, because if you look at it, it wouldn't seem like Sonic has a lot of speed here. It's likely the case that the slowdown Sonic gets here allows him to boost at a speed that is multiplied what he would normally get when the slowdown ends. There were a few quirks about this strat that originally threw the community for a loop. For example, it only seemed to work on certain enemies. The original enemy that Crody used Hit and Run on was a soldier. After this, Crody had a very hard time replicating the trick, and for good reason. Certain enemy types interact with this strat differently. Crody wasn't able to recreate their original find until the next day on this Spinny Boy. The Spinny Boy to this day seems to be the easiest enemy to use it on. However, it seems that bigger enemies make the trick more likely to work. This limits us in our ability to use Hit and Run where we please. With the Hedgehog Space Program, you can do this trick on most type of enemies, making it incredibly accessible. Hit and Run would not have this luxury. The other big limit here is the fact that you have to unlock the ability. Again, comparing it to the HSP, you have to unlock the Stomp attack, which takes less than 20 skill points after unlocking Psyloop. Hit and Run requires almost 100 more skill points than we would normally route in any percent before. This originally made people hardly even consider the trick. It seemed hard to pull off, hard to control, and you would need to lose time to routing in a lot of extra skill points. So even if the trick was found within a week of the game's release, it wasn't implemented. The community had to consider if Hit and Run was even worth implementing at all. And the answer was yes. Even with all of its limitations and potential pitfalls, this thing is just so fast. Hit and Run is by far the most broken trick in the game. You can use it for horizontal or vertical speed, something that's not the case for any other trick. This strategy could be used to push Sonic Frontier's speedruns to the next level. The question is, who would push the game far enough for Hit and Run to be implemented? If you've watched some of my other Sonic Frontiers videos, there's a name that keeps popping up: Gordon Ramsay, the speedrunner. The story I'm about to tell is a story of forbidden love and a speedrunner's attempt to chase that. I promise this is relevant. Gordon loved the stage 3-2 in Chaos Island. It contained the game's only 3D and 2D, where you can go out of the bounds that the game intends you to be in, and this strat was really fast. The problem was that in the any percent route, 3-2 was too far out of the way to ever save time. And yet, Gordon was not deterred. He held steadfast and kept 3-2 in his route, even though it lost about 40 seconds. He was able to get top leaderboard times in any percent with a clearly worse route, but to Gordon, it was worth it. But then, Gordon had a lucky break. He had been looking into Hit and Run extensively and working with other community members to try to figure out what route would even be optimal. In fact, this new route could bring 3-2 into the limelight, and Program Fairy was proving it. First came the issue of skill points. Chaos Island was the best island to use Hit and Run without a doubt, since the enemy types we need are just about everywhere. The problem was that in any percent, we skipped so much of Kronos and Ares, even if we went a little out of the way for skill points, it wouldn't be nearly enough. The bulk of points would need to come from Chaos. When it comes to collecting skill points, you can get them from Psylooping, defeating enemies, and breaking boxes or barrels. The most effective of these is by far the breakable boxes and barrels. One of these can net you about 2 or 3 levels of skill points each. They found a few of these that weren't super far out of the way in Ares Island, but again, the majority would still have to come from Chaos. And we got super lucky here, as there is actually a ton of skill points at the top of this building, next to where you initially free Tails, as well as a good amount near the start of Chaos. This spot on top of the building nets you almost 30 skill points alone, and combining with the skill points near the start of Chaos, you're almost able to get Spin Slash here. In the route, you enter the shield escape sequence, and if you do the cutscene skip, you'll spawn on this island. and on this island, we'll get the last skill points needed to unlock the ability to hit and run. After completing what's needed at this section and breaking a few more boxes, it's time. Now that hit and run is unlocked, how would speedrunners use it to actually save time? Well, if we follow the skill point route, hit and run isn't available to runners until after the shield escape sequence, but as soon as they get it, it will be implemented. From the middle point of the map here, the runners will use hit and run to reach the top left portion of the map, in seconds. This island is needed as it holds the red emerald. Normally, you would need to go through the subterranean tunnel or fly over on a bird, but both options are painfully slow when comparing to hit and run. Since we used hit and run to get over here, why not to get back? Using hit and run to get back to the main island and the hacking minigame, as well as a few conversations. After this, you have to do the nuts and bolts minigame, but first we must visit Gordon's Forbidden Love 3-2. Because of hit and run, visiting this area on the way is actually fast, as being slightly out of the way isn't a problem when you can essentially warp there in a matter of seconds. From here, runners collect an emerald, and then hit and run to the top right area of the map. In this area, you have to complete the nuts and bolts minigame, collect the yellow emerald, and then the free fall bridge minigame. As of now, most of this section just requires navigating through it like normal, since there is a lack of the enemies that we would need to hit and run. After the free fall minigame though, there's the hardest hit and run on the island. Fortunately, it doesn't save much time over just warping back and forth between maps, so most runners currently just map warp. After all of that, the hit and run route is over on Chaos Island. At the end of the day, hit and run has saved minutes on Chaos Island alone, and has quickly become a run transforming trick. Past just Chaos Island, the state of hit and run was originally unsure. Uranus didn't contain any Spinny Boy enemies, and very few types that it could be used on at all. So the future of Uranus and hit and run is currently uncertain. Rhea was another story though. On Rhea Island, you're supposed to platform your way up 6 different towers to shut them down. Before hit and run, Rhea was basically just using HSPs to get up most towers, and usually going in order. But with the power of hit and run, and the amount of horizontal distance you can get, there's no reason to actually go in order. Because of this, runners started going for hit and runs on just about every tower outside of the first climb. The current order in the world record is Tower 1, 3, 4, 6, 5, and then 2. These changes were mostly because of where the enemies were positioned on the tower, and now having the extra distance made it easier to control when trying to land precisely on a tower. This new route turned Rhea from an island that was about 4 to 5 minutes in length to potentially under 3 if performed well. Rhea was already one of the hardest islands, and from the look of it, hit and run would make it even harder. Safe to say, hit and run made a massive difference in the speedrun. It'll be interesting to see how the community continues to implement it in the future. Hit and run is yet another major innovation by the Sonic Frontiers speedrunning community. The world record has recently dropped under 1 hour and 10 minutes, marking a huge barrier break for the community. As we approach the sub-hour mark, I'm sure we'll be finding new tech and also just improved general movement. If you want to stay up to date with all of the new finds, make sure to sub to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.